Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to welcome you to the Nebraska Investment Connection virtual event. Next slide, Alex. So, for those of you who are not familiar with Investment Connection, this is a program that we've now run for 10 years out of the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. And to date, it has led to connections of over $60 million, both within the region. And now we've moved it across the nation with other banks that have been doing investment connection. Next slide.
Sorry, Dal, having just a small hiccup with the system. I'll get it up in just a second. My
No
apologies.
problem. There we go. So, in 2019, after starting and spending the first few years really regionally at the Kansas City Fed, other banks began to adopt it to kind of address the connection between their CRA, Community Reinvestment Act needs, and the programs in their community that are CRA eligible, making an impact. And so it's now in Atlanta, Cleveland, Dallas, Minneapolis, New York, Richmond, and St. Louis Feds. Next slide. Now, this is one of the things that I want to encourage you all to both on the fund, those that are of you that are on the potential funding side and also on the program side. And please share this with your other stakeholders and peer groups. We actually have a portal now for Investment Connection, and on that portal, all the proposals that are in the portal are have been vetted by to determine their CRA eligibility, and they're searchable by the database by a variety of factors. Excuse me, specifically by geographic region, so that those of you that are looking for Community Reinvestment Act eligible projects, or you're a philanthropist looking for place-based projects, this is a great place for you to go and look at and identify some of the great proposals, some of which you will hear today, but others that, because we could only have 8 that didn't make it, that are going to be on there as well. Next slide. And so, from the RFP side, if you have stakeholders in your network or if you have peers that are doing community-based programming, the opportunity to put their proposal up on the portal can also be seen through the website as well. And this is an outstanding way, as you organizations know, to continue to expose to potential funders the great projects that you're doing. Next slide. And this is just a continuation of that. Next slide. And so a few things that I really want to encourage you to do. Now, there's 2 ways that you can, after the proposals are presented, that you can share whether you're interested in having a conversation. The important thing is to remember this is not a commitment to fund. You saying that you want to connect and learn more about an organization does not imply that you'll fund that organization. It's just an opportunity to put the 2 of you in the room so that you can understand what they're doing. And if it fits within what your philanthropic or your Community Reinvestment Act service area needs, that it may provide you an opportunity to support that organization. And so you will have, after each presentation, a pop-up that would allow you to say whether you want to connect with that particular organization or not. And then I also yesterday in the email sent you out a PDF file that will allow you to do the same. We would encourage you, just for practical purposes, to also fill out the PDF form so that we can get a hard copy of it as well and keep a track on it. And then last but not least in this regard is the evaluations. So with the evaluations, this is very helpful for us at the Federal Reserve Bank to ensure that we're giving you the best possible quality of programming that we can. Again, we've been doing this for 10 years, so we always like to hear the feedback of ways that we could tweak it, improve it, or even modify it if you have ideas for that, to do it in different ways than maybe have been done before. Next slide. So before we get into Jim's presentation, I just want to level set the presentation process. So each presenter will have 7 minutes. And after that, there will be a 3-minute question and answer period. You can look on the box on the side and there's a Q&A tab. Please put your questions in there if you have questions, and I will read them to the presenter at the end of it. So during the 7 minutes, we've really encouraged the presenters to kind of do a a great, if you quote unquote, elevator pitch of their program and project with the intent that it's not a deep dive just because of the time factor, but it's an opportunity for them to set the stage and the framework for what they're trying to do, the impact that they believe it will have, and potentially previous impact of their organization. And so we really want you to, if you do have specific questions that are more granular, to ask them at this time. But a second alternative is also to just say that you want to connect with them. And if you have a deeper dive question, connect with them after the fact, because that's the intent of the event. So with that being said, we're going to start with our first presentation, which is Tools for Small Business Growth by Jim Reif, the Executive Director of the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. So Jim, I'll hop off camera and let you take it away.
Okay, Dell, thanks for the introduction. Thanks for the Federal Reserve, KC. Appreciate the opportunity to present. Next slide, please. A little bit about the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. We are a CDFI, so Community Development Finance Institution. Our vision is we envision a vibrant small business ecosystem where every small and micro business has the opportunity to start, grow, and prosper. So we're looking at micro and small businesses, typically 10, 15 employees and less, but we do a little bit bigger businesses as well from time to time. We do this by supporting underserved communities, by providing micro and small businesses with access to training, technical service, and capital. Several ways that we do this is, first and foremost, we have a revolving loan fund. We have approximately $15 million of capital available to deploy at any given time. This goes to small businesses in various forms, gap financing, direct lending, as well as invoice financing. It is a loan, but it's oftentimes funding that is not yet available through banking and other avenues. So it's a way to support our businesses when they're not quite yet bankable or not fully bankable yet. Second one is business development training. We are doing training constantly. Every day of the week, I think we're doing something. Today, we have a trainer in Kearney, for example, doing the second day of a QuickBooks training. But this training is so important, as we all know, for the small businesses we work with. Make sure they have adequate training, adequate access to resources, and so forth. And the third thing we do is we do coaching, one-on-one coaching in particular for these small businesses. Areas range anywhere from helping set up a business plan to working with their financials, helping them think through some marketing issues. Just sometimes it's just small business management. And we do use a tool called Growth Wheel. It's an internationally used tool to support small businesses and helps these businesses understand both their strengths and gives them tools to improve in areas they're struggling. Over the past 3 years, we've provided 175 businesses with funding through our lending. That's about $10.5 million of direct loans dispersed. We also jumped in during the PPP period and provided over 17 million PPP lending dollars to 312 businesses at the tail end when the banking community had been shut off from the portal. So super happy to be able to maximize and work with the banks during that time. Our direct lending impacted over the last 3 years over 608 jobs. We've done over 10,000 coaching sessions in the same period, and 8,900 folks have come through our different trainings. Over 65% of our focus and our impact is going to persons of color and the BIPOC community and other underserved populations. And then we also provided during COVID $2.9 million of business stabilization grants, both to small businesses and restaurants throughout Omaha and the state of Nebraska. And we are certified by the U.S. Department of Treasury every year. We are certified. Next slide, please. All right, who are we serving? Businesses. We'll serve any small and micro business. Most of our focus, though, goes to those in distressed and higher impact areas. We see a need for solid and quality technical assistance, so that's why we provide those. And oftentimes these businesses don't have access to funding yet, so we're trying to create opportunities for funding. How do we do this? What need do we fit? We focus on our business acumen business resumption, marketing, financial training, accounting, and capacity building, along with the coaching to work with each of these businesses to grow and expand. Next slide, please. Some of the things we're looking for, I'm only going to touch on two of them. The first one is constantly looking for ways to increase our capacity to deliver training. So 75,000 would go towards supporting our business acumen and business training, curriculum development, and program delivery. This allows us to get in front and work with the client base that we're working with to really support them. The other option we have is service training. And this is something, there's not a dollar amount associated with this, but we found that working with our banks and our other business partners, they're subject matter experts we can bring in and use for a specific training, a specific topic, a specific focus. So we're able to have somebody come in with expertise and provide training, or maybe an expertise and connect with the bank or to provide coaching. Some of the banks we've worked with to help develop curriculum so we can do a better job training, and then always site hosting. So if you're a bank and have a room and want to have a site with us, we're happy to talk with you. So those are some of the ways we can support you, and you can hopefully support us. Del, I'm good.
Great, Jim. We have a couple questions for you. One, in its regard to COVID impact. Do you have specific programs that you're doing to kind of help businesses that have been COVID impacted during the process of recovery or survival?
We don't. Well, we do currently. We have a COVID impact loan. It's up to a $10,000 loan at 3%, and that's for the BIPOC community. So it's a specific targeted loan. But yes, we do. That is provided and supported through Wells Fargo Open for Businesses program, and so we do have those. And we did jump in. The PPP is closed, but we jumped in when the banks were unable to provide lending. We also worked both with the Omaha Community Foundation, the City of Omaha, and Wells Fargo again to provide grants, but we're out of grant funding right now in COVID relief. But we do have loan funds, and those are at 3%, so they are a really good term.
How specifically can philanthropists work with your organization?
There's all kinds of ways. Obviously, there's the grant funding that helps us do better programming, increase our programming. That's the easy one to say, but there's other ways that philanthropists can really help us. We're in a coalition right now, for example, with Kauffman Foundation, and it's called Spark, and it's working with Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, and Nebraska organizations to do a better job around the diversity, equity, inclusion lens. But it's going to allow all of us to interact more and understand what each of us does. So philanthropists sometimes can really play that role with connecting us and helping us get connected with each other. Sometimes we're mission focused, and our philanthropists are able to see things at a little higher level and say, hey, Jim, have you talked to this group? Maybe they can help you just get new ideas or see a different way of doing something that we might not understand yet, but we might be able to share ideas back and forth.
And then the last question is, can funds be targeted towards specific geographic regions?
Absolutely. And just a shout out, Ariel and I've talked a lot, but we actually expanded into Southwest Iowa because of the 2018 investment connection. And Dave Wise and his team at TS Bank invited us to come in. We've developed funds for Southwest Iowa only. We can put funds, we can geofence it and put it in a specific area. Yes, absolutely.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Great proposal.
Thank you.
Now you all will be getting a pop-up that will allow you to determine your desire to connect with Nebraska Enterprise Fund. And then one other thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning is I did send you out with the agenda links to every proposal, which also will give you a deeper dive into each of the presentations that are going on today. So make sure after you get off the call, you can hop off you can go and look at the link, and it can give you the detailed proposal that they're making outside of the 7 minutes. And your polling will be on the right side. You can click the button and it should pop up, and just go ahead and select it if you're interested or if you're not interested. So moving on, our next presentation is Catholic Charities of Omaha Emergency and Supportive Food Programming, Calming the Hunger Pains of Nebraska's Most Vulnerable People. Michaela Shuley, and I apologize, Michaela, if I mispronounce your last name, from Catholic Charities is going to give us the presentation. So Michaela, I will turn it over to you.
Great. Well, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the Federal Reserve for the opportunity to speak with everyone today. Next slide, please. At Catholic Charities, our mission is to be the hands and feet of Jesus Christ. We uphold this mission in our Pantry program through 3 pantry sites, one in North Omaha, one in South Omaha, and one being built in Northwest Omaha, set to open in 2022. Through these pantries, we provide prepackaged boxes of food 5 days weekly. These packages include dairy, meat, fresh fruit, and vegetables, personal hygiene products, diapers, adult diapers, toiletries, cleaning supplies, and dietary requests. Our dietary accommodations are available to our members upon request. We currently operate a drive-through, but when the health department determines that it is safe to do so, we do intend to open our doors again to a self-choice pantry. We offer home deliveries to the doorsteps of homebound seniors within our community that are unable to reach our pantry services. Our pantry services primarily reside in the Omaha metro area, but our Catholic Charities footprint extends across the 23 counties of the Archdiocese. Using a refrigerated box truck, we move our mobile pantry to populations experiencing food insecurity. Our most recent outreaches include visits to the Indian reservations of Macy and Walt Hill, Nebraska. We also lead community relations to reduce hunger. Catholic Charities is a food distributor as we provide food products to over 44 local nonprofit organizations who then share those items with others in need. From January 2020 through June 2022, we served 236,895 individuals with over 2.8 million pounds of food. This need is not decreasing as we are currently on track to serve 57% more individuals in 2021 than we served in 2020. Aside from our pantry services, Catholic Charities offers 5 more core programs, and those programs include immigrant legal services, microbusiness and asset development, family strengthening, behavioral health, and a domestic violence shelter. Our strong partnerships and our additional programming help us not only to battle hunger, but build sustainability into the lives of our community members. We provide wraparound support for our community members using our pantry services as an entry point to any of our programs and our partners to help people overcome obstacles and achieve self-sufficiency. Next slide, please. Our Catholic Charities Pantry now serves the poundage of food in 1 month that we used to serve in an entire year. Such growth does not come without growing pains. The pandemic has fundamentally changed many industries, and like others, we've adapted, we've grown, and we've remained resilient. Funding is now needed to outfit our pantry to proactively sustain the new reality that the pandemic has created. Today, we propose to you an investment of $100,000 to help us build sustainability into our infrastructure as we continue to build sustainability into the lives of our community. Pictured on this slide, you'll see a photo of our receiving and distributing door at our South Omaha Catholic Charities Juan Diego Center Pantry. Upwards of 30 pallets carrying 15,000 pounds of food each day go in and out of this small door frame that's barely wide enough to fit a pallet. More often than not, a pallet is not stacked straight or the saran wrap is not wrapped correctly, and it gets stuck to the side of the door, causing a jam. If a pallet is stuck, it takes the manpower of 3 people to move the product. It's estimated that staff and volunteers spend 10 hours per week adjusting pallets to fit through the door frames and unjamming pallets. This equates to a budget expense of $150 per week and $7,200 per year of staff time. The funds we request will go towards operational support, such as the build out of an automated two-door receiving and distributing door. A new door will increase the efficiency and safety of our receiving and distributing process, and investments in the efficiency of our operations will allow staff to focus their energies less on moving the product and more on who the product is moved to. Next slide, please. At Catholic Charities, we measure success through impact surveys, as well as analytical data showing community needs, and most importantly, recognition of the names behind the numbers. Even amidst the time of social distancing, our pantry staff uphold the dignity and respect of each community member by building personal relations. We have heard our pantries referred to as a second home to many of the members served. One of those members is Daniel, pictured here. Daniel has been a pantry patron of the South Omaha Pantry for many years, and through establishing a strong relationship with Daniel within the pantry, he became a consistent pantry member each day in the pantry. Eventually, we referred Daniel to our family strengthening department, and they helped Daniel find a job. And eventually, Daniel's life became more stable than it had ever been. Daniel then created enough self-sufficiency in his life to buy a phone, furnish his apartment, and he even started volunteering within our Juan Diego Center pantry. So Daniel is one face of many that's found sustainability because he's touched by the lives of the work of those at Catholic Charities. We need your help to increase the efficiency of our processes so we can focus on what truly matters, our community. Through our pantry services in North and South Omaha, our home delivery program, our mobile pantry, and the 44 partners receiving food from Catholic Charities, an investment in Catholic Charities is an investment in the community at large. Help us build sustainability into our lives so we can build sustainability into the lives of our community. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Michaela. Great program out there. So how does your organization connect with other organizations in similar spaces?
This began because when the pandemic hit everybody, there was a break in the supply chain for food, specifically with farmers reaching pantries that needed to distribute that food. And so we acquired a partnership in a program, a USDA program that helped make that connection. And in that program, we received a lot of food at our own pantry. So then we went out and went to other pantries and said, we know you're in need because we were in need as well. And we can help bridge that gap between our two pantries by sharing the food that we received. And then that just flourished from there. And so the silver lining of the pandemic is all of the partnerships that have flourished recently.
Would you be open to a line of credit for the $100,000?
Yes, we would. That would be something that we would be open to.
And then the last question is, you talked about Daniel and connecting him to other aspects of the organization. Can you explain how you do those kind of connective services?
Absolutely. So Catholic Charities has 6 core programs. And one that we connected Daniel with was our case management program, known as it's over our family strengthening program in Catholic Charities. And we interact, we have meetings every week with our fellow directors, and we connect with specific community members that we see need extra services. We realize that they need extra services because in our pantry process, to become enrolled in our pantry program, people fill out a application that states why they are there, and one of the things is unstable housing, lack of employment, etc. And that then gets referred to our case management within Catholic Charities.
Great. Thank you, Michaela.
Thank you.
And just a reminder, and you're going to hear me say this quite a bit, that the polling questions will be after every presentation. And please make your selections there. And then also, if you miss it or you go back through at a later time and realize you missed a connection, or maybe you missed type something on the poll, I did send you the PowerPoint or the PDFs to be able to do the same thing, which you can fill out and just hit submit, and it should email it back to us. So next I have the Bay High Focus Program. I'm gonna break script a little bit because Mike, you can come on camera. Because Mike Smith is one of the few people I can actually say is a co-alumnus of Grace University that I went to, and we also both played basketball together. So I was excited to see his name on the presentation. So Mike, I will turn it over to you. Do we have you, Mike?
Can you hear me? Oh,
I
cool. All
can
right,
hear
sweet.
you. Gotcha.
Dell has crossed me up too many times on the basketball court to count. It hurt. And so it's good to see you again, my friend. And so Mike Smith, I'm the co-founder of Rabble Mill, and I'm going to share with you about Bay High today, but I'm going to back up a little bit and kind of tell you how we got there. And so 10 years ago, I was a social worker. I was the judge of teen court, and I worked with homeless and runaway teenagers. And my job was basically to work with at-risk youth and help them stay off the streets, stay out of trouble, have an opportunity at graduating high school and moving on with a successful adult life. And when I was the judge of teen court, I kept hearing all of these kids who weren't bad kids. They weren't really troublemakers. They were just kids who were bored and would get in trouble like late at night. And I realized that's what Lincoln needed. It needed a place where kids could go late at night so they could stay out of trouble. And so I Googled how to start a nonprofit. I tore down a couple abandoned barns, and some friends of mine, we worked real hard and we built this nonprofit indoor skate park. And we basically just created this space. And we kind of always said kids need somewhere to go, something to do, and people who care. And we opened up this skate park, and things were great. The space was growing. We're in this huge warehouse here in Lincoln that's 30,000 square feet. We eventually added a venue, and we've added a coffee shop, and we've got these multimedia spaces. And about 6 years ago, I came to the skate park at like 10:30 on a Tuesday, and the skate park was full of kids. And my first reaction was like, oh, sweet, like these kids are here. That's great. And then I went to my office, and my phone was blowing up because all these kids had skipped school to come skate. And so we got all the kids back to school, and I was like, all right, we can't, get in the way of education. So I was like, we got to change our hours. We can't be open as early. But it planted this seed in our head, and it was like, what if we created this place and that kids could go to school? Like, what if they could go to school here? And so we just decided we wanted to create this place, and we called it, Bay High. And so we didn't know what it was going to look like. We didn't know what it was going to be, but we just wanted to say, well, what if we could take on kids' education? What if they loved coming to school as much as they loved coming here? And we really just started to chip away at it. And so through this partnership with Lincoln Public Schools, next fall, our facility is going to turn into a focus program high school. And so we're going to be home to, a Lincoln Public School focus program called Bay High. And so here, on this slide, you can see there are some renderings of the capital campaign that we're putting together. And we're really just focused on, think your marketing departments, think the opportunity to diversify and to create equity within all of your companies, all of your banks. One of the easiest ways for a young person to get their foot in the door is going to be through your marketing departments. And so we're teaching these transferable industry skills, Adobe Suite, content creation, photography, videography, storytelling. We're teaching these kids through the lens of, these are all marketing jobs that exist in your hometown and in your community. And so, at Bay, we're 65% non-white. We're incredibly diverse. Most of our kids are, qualify for free and reduced lunch and don't pay. And the families that can support and pay do. But for the most part, most of our kids are on scholarship here and are just a part of all of our activities for free. And so being able to create this place and this environment where we can really take on, these kids' education in this space is something that we are super excited about and super passionate about. And so, there's this big conversation in Nebraska about the brain drain. And as a young creative who chose to stay in Nebraska and build my companies here, I can tell you that one of the things that it takes to attract people to your city is your own local creative class. And we really need to invest in the local creatives here so they are the ones who attract people. When you go for a job interview in another community, you do the interview and then you try to go out in the community and find where people that look like you and think like you and act like you, where do they go? Where do they eat? Where do they live? And that's what you're looking for. And so if we're going to make Nebraska even more incredible than it is, and we're going to attract new talent and new people, we've got to focus on our local creative class. And that comes with investing in youth and investing in young people. And so we're at $500,000 for our capital campaign. And I would have had a slide that had the dollar amount here, but we've asked, we've had a lot of asks out, and we've got a lot of commitment coming back in right now for this. And so we've been really excited about the school. We've got partners from, Allo, Nelnet, Retail, a lot of local company, CAM, Cooper Foundation, a lot of local Nebraska nonprofits have really stepped up, and foundations have stepped up to just kind of help us get this off the ground. And so we're not asking for a lot to really redo the space. We just need some investment in equipment and to kind of, continue to just make our space a place where kids can learn and have real life, real experiences. And so the capital campaign is $500,000. We're a little under halfway there. And so, we're asking everyone to kind of help us get to that number of 500,000. And most of that is in things that the kids are going to use and experience every day, like studio equipment, camera equipment, laptops, the software. It's much more hardware and software asked than it is like a physical capital campaign. And so, that's Bay High. We start next fall. It's 100 students. It's junior and senior only. We really wanted to focus on workforce development. And so our goal is to graduate 50 seniors, or roughly 50 seniors, either into the workforce, to the universities, or into opportunities to come and take internships and different apprenticeships around our community. And so Bay High is really focused on creating equity in our young people. We're in 2005 Y Street. And so we're in one of the most low income neighborhoods in our city. And one of the really cool kind of things that's happened with our space here, and because of the pandemic, is we were able to move our programming online. So now we are actively looking at spaces in Omaha to create a Bay Omaha. And we've targeted a couple neighborhoods that we're really excited about. And so we've got our sights set on Omaha, as well as some of the cool opportunities statewide. But I think I might be at or close to time. And so I'll kick it over to you, Del.
Yeah, perfect timing. So one of the questions is, can you explain a little bit more the workforce development programming process? Kind of like the intake of the kids. Is it just training, or is it job placement?
It's both. And so what we're calling it loosely, this name's terrible. We won't call it this to the kids, but we're calling it the student success track. And basically what we've done is we've kind of asked business. We've said, hey, business, what are these kids missing? What skills don't they have? What are they lacking? What don't they know? And business has helped us craft sort of a success track. And so at the intake, we'll ask these kids, what experiences have you had? But really it boils down to, we kind of calling it stackable credentials. And so an example would be a kid gets their food handler's permit. They do 20 hours of work at our coffee shop, and then they learn, that we're stacking on the credentials with what they're learning. So if a kid goes and get their driver's license, and then they want their CDL, it's like, how do we help them sort of stack their credentials so it leads to job placement somewhere? And so there's that. And then with the asks with Bay High, all of those come with what are called premium internships. And so during our school day, our school's a BMIT focus. So it's business, marketing, information, and technology. And so we're able to put our students in businesses every day. And so these kids are going to have real world experiences with real projects that they're going to do for these companies as a part of their expectations with Bay High. And so that's all going to get baked into their resume, into their student success track. And so there's everything from mental health to financial literacy, which is a huge component. And so it's helping these kids get their first bank account so they can cash their checks, so they can get their job. And so it's just been a lot of what are the 5 or 6 sort of core things you need a young person entering into the workforce to be good at? We're asking business that, and then we're baking that into the student success track, which is roughly going to be 100 hours of time. So it's 100 hours of, all these different experiences added up over the course of a school year.
And this next question that came in actually may dovetail into that response. But have you ever spoken with recruiters? The skills you're teaching are what the Department of Development is now seeking.
Yeah, so I think we've made videos for the Department of Ed, and so we've worked with them and had some of these conversations with them. I haven't spoken with recruiters I guess we did with Brian Seck and the Manufacturing Council and some of those folks. We've worked with them here in Lincoln on how did they build their manufacturing kind of apprenticeship, like what was that track and how did they do it? And we've kind of worked with them. And so that's who we've worked with for the most part, has been more of like the Nebraska Department of Ed. And I think, that's basically who we've worked with over here.
And then the question came in about volunteers. Obviously there's financial resources with Capital Campaign, but what are some other volunteer opportunities, let's say, a banker could do to support the Bay program?
Well, one of the biggest things that we're realizing is a lot of our kids really want to work, but they don't understand even how to open up a checking account or a bank account. And so if I had a banker come to me, we're hanging a ton of drywall and doing a bunch of crazy stuff right now. If you were really into that, I would say come help us get some dirt under your nails. But if you would love to use your skill set, our kids need to hear about the finances of today. Even a lot of the curriculum in schools is like how to balance a checkbook, but these kids are really interested in, other currency and other ways of paying for things. And so I just think like a relevant conversation about money is what I would ask a banker to come in and talk to our kids about, and sort of, give a realistic perspective of what the money conversation is, and also help them with a few what's next steps. A lot of our kids don't know how to even go get a checking account. And so giving them sort of the here's what's next and walking them through that process, I think is where our kids are at for the most part. And so that's where I would have a banker come use their time.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike.
Of course.
Remember, don't forget to visit the poll and make your connection selection. I like that rhyme right there. So next up, we got another presentation from College and Career Readiness Project by Deb Denbeck, who's the president and CEO of Partnership for Kids.
Well,
Deb, I will turn it over.
Great. Well, good afternoon, Dylan. Thanks so much for this opportunity provided by the Federal Reserve. I'm Deb Denbeck, and I am the president and CEO of Partnership for Kids. And we are a local youth-serving organization here in Omaha. So could I have the first slide, please? So we serve 3,100 youth from pre-kindergarten through post-secondary or on-job training. We serve 16 schools in the Omaha Public School System. They're all located in Northeast and Southeast Omaha. 6 elementary, 5 middle schools, and 5 high schools, and they all create a pathway of programming. Over 80% of the students we serve are from Black and Brown families. 90% live in poverty, and those that are enrolled in our post-secondary program, 90% are first-generation college students. A real critical point about that is that we maintain a 94% persistence rate, which simply means that they're staying enrolled in college and succeeding. Our program is 32 years old, and our mission is to provide 4 levels of critical programming with a curriculum at both elementary, middle, high school, and post-secondary. We create futuristic mindsets, which provide hope, helping them students find their passion for an engaging and fulfilling future, graduate from high school and post-secondary. We call it long-time support for lifetime success. Next slide, please. Today, I'm here to talk about our College and Career Readiness Program. This is an extremely valuable program for over 500 underserved youth from grades 6 to 12. If we're going to prepare a trained workforce, it must start early and it must be consistent. Too many times, employers want to start this process in high school. And quite honestly, that's too late because they have not developed the skills necessary or the confidence. We want them to be equipped with job readiness skills, those soft skills or life skills. And at each level of our programming, we work on building confidence. We also work on creating interests. We must take students on engaging site visits to companies and campuses where they can explore. And you must develop their strengths. So we work with strength finders as well. And you must do year-round programming that is fun and engaging. I think we all know there's one thing that's really critical is when students are engaged, they learn and it improves their grades and attendance. Our program does meet after school at the school sites and along with going on field trips. Right now, for example, we're working with Kloss Industries with our 7th and 8th grade students. And the students are building activity kits to solve real engineering problems. At each level of the program, we build upon the previous level. In middle school, we have a high dosage of career exploration in various fields. We partner a great deal with Metro Community College, UNMC, UNO, Bellevue, Creighton, and College of St. Mary's. And they help our students provide hands-on activities. We're also participating in the OPS on their freshman academies, which is new this year. And we have staff who serve on their 5 advisory boards. We believe in teaching strong skills for success, financial vitality, networking, interviewing, resume writing, job shadowing, summer enrichment programs to further these career searches. All along this educational journey, P4K staff and volunteers also provide a lot of supports. We also have one-on-one case management program. We have academic supports. And the biggest thing is we know this program works because we have results. But we know there's a lot more work to do, and this is the time to support our efforts as we need to work hand in hand to get these students more engaged just due to the isolation of COVID. The timing is critical. And so we don't want to lose a generation of the workforce. So we must provide a lot of interventions and support. Next slide, please. We are asking for a $50,000 investment to support this critical program for the 21-22 school year, which helps prepare youth for post-secondary education and job readiness. Our program works, but now the time to re-engage and build a much more educated and diverse workforce is now. If we can keep youth here in Omaha, we can increase the economic value of our city and our state. Let's stop the brain drain and the academic backslide created by the pandemic and make a stronger commitment to our vulnerable youth. We know these are future leaders. The Omaha Chamber of Commerce completed a data analysis of our graduates. The Chamber found that these graduates from P4K over the next 5 years have the capability to contribute over $1.3 million in increased economic value to our city and state. We have longtime relationships with both our students and family, which is a huge key to our success. And when one of our donors asked a P4K student why they were in P4K, the student simply answered, "Because they always have my back." Your investment will mean more opportunities to help students grow and develop and become tomorrow's workforce. Thank you, and I'm glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Deb. The first question that came in is, what would you use the $50,000 for?
The $50,000 is really to increase our programming levels so they can be on more field trips, be with more businesses to really get this hands-on experience. And what we're finding right now is also transportation is probably the hardest thing that we have to fund right now. That's not a sexy thing to fund, but I can tell you that has doubled the rate to rent a van. Bus rates have almost doubled, and the availability is very little.
Great. And then the next question came in. It asked about your engagement with the chamber. You mentioned that you did had them do some data analysis. Are you connecting with the chamber and some of their major corporate partners in terms of potential funding support and also potential job placement?
Yes, we are. We're working on them more and more. And right now, I'm working with 16 other youth serving organizations. We just presented on Tuesday to the Appropriations Committee down in Lincoln for ARPA money as well. Because if we don't get these students re-engaged, we're going to lose a whole generation of workforce development.
Great. Thank you, Deb. A great presentation. Remember to fill out the poll and make your selections. That's how we keep track of who's connected. And with that, we will go to the next slide. And we will be talking about Sustainable Economic Development Extension with Sean Ribe, Executive Director, and Ali Christensen, the Community Organizer for South of Downtown Community Development. I think we just have Ali today. That was my mistake to put Sean on there. But Ali, I will turn it over to you, and you have the floor.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Ali Christensen, and I'm a community organizer at the South of Downtown Community Development Organization. And if you could change it, thank you so much. We at South of Downtown Community Development Organization are a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, and we are based in the 20.01 and 20.02 census tracts here in Lincoln, Nebraska, which encompass the neighborhoods of Everett and Near South. Our mission is to enrich the quality of life for residents of the Near South and Everett neighborhoods through collaboration, economic opportunities, and community development. Our neighbors are 95% renters, and the impacts from such a high concentration of rentership and the accompanying lack of housing stability is felt in our social, political, and economic fabric. In fact, the average household income is about $24,000 a year, and many of our neighbors fall at or below the federal poverty line. Our neighborhoods are also home to one of the most diverse communities in Lincoln. We have a high concentration of new Americans and Spanish speakers, and the work that we do builds on their unique strengths. Together, we build community and strive for positive and intentional change that is reflective of what our neighbors want and need. And we do this through a lot of deep listening, whether that's at our neighbors' doors, at community events, and shared gathering places, or in digital spaces too. Next slide, please. Thank you. And from this listening, we are continually learning about the various barriers to economic success that our neighbors face and the incredible work that our community members are already doing to support each other in both good and tough times. The Sustainable Economic Development Extension, or SEED, builds upon these strengths of our neighbors. SEED was born out of community conversations that followed the discontinuation of the F Street Farmers Market, which was previously hosted by our local F Street Community Church. The farmers market was an integral facet of the social and economic landscape in our neighborhoods, and our community didn't want to see it go. So together with neighbors, creative and food-based entrepreneurs, and small business owners, we reimagined a market that encompassed more than just economic transactions, but a space dephysicalized where a community could connect, skill share, and support one another holistically. This evolved into SEED, a neighbor-led program that increases equitable access to the tools and resources that our neighbors need to determine their own economic futures and thrive, planting the seed for a shared economic success. Under SEED, a maker's market and a farmer's market will provide economic opportunities for neighbors to sell their products, skill share, and build community. And to lead the markets, a community market action committee will be formed with 5 paid neighbor consultants leading the formation, development, and sustainability of the markets, as well as small business socials to promote neighborhood connectivity. At the markets, we'll have pop-up skill sharing booths hosted by neighbors to share skills that promote economic stability and prosperity in an informal, friendly, and accessible environment. These skills will then be honed further in more formal workshops, also led by our neighbors, for entrepreneurs, job seekers, and youth in areas of digital literacy, branding and self-promotion, job readiness, and more. We are currently in collaboration with the American Job Center to plan our first job readiness workshop in January of next year. And in further empowering our youth, we are partnering with Lincoln Public Schools, Big Red Firewood and Sawmill, and Nebraska Forest Service to implement the Urban Lumber Project, where high school students in industrial tech classrooms will be paid as neighbor consultants to repurpose ash lumber to build items for our community. Here in our neighborhoods, ash trees have been a really special focus of our visual landscape. And due to the emerald ash borer, many of these trees have been removed over the past few years. So this project seeks to both invest in our youth leadership and skills and redirect the fallen ash lumber back into our neighborhoods to continue serving our community in new ways. For example, as Adirondack chairs, benches, tables, and little free libraries and pantries for our shared gathering spaces and inside our neighbors' homes. The next slide, please. Thank you. So by hiring our neighbors as the experts they are, we not only validate the lived experience their expertise is drawn from, we empower them to lead an economic future of their own volition. And today, we're asking all to invest alongside us in the leadership and expertise of our neighbors so that the change happening in our shared lived environment is reflective of what our neighbors truly want and need, resulting not only in a stronger and more vibrant community, but also in our shared economic success. As you can see, the majority of the requested $20,000 is going directly into the pockets of our neighbors as we hire them as neighbor consultants to lead our programming in the markets, skill sharing pop-ups, and workshops. Another chunk of the funding will go towards material costs for the urban lumber project, initial physical materials for the markets, as well as translation costs to improve accessibility of our programming. And then the remaining funding will go towards my time in providing one-on-one mentorship to the neighbor consultants leading our programs. And although the goals of SEED are long-term, we anticipate and are already on track to achieving within our first year to form the Community Market Action Committee, pilot the Farmers Market next summer, support 10 projects for the Urban Lumber Project this semester and next, host 4 small business socials and workshops, increase the profit, recognition, and support of the makers and our makers market, and overall provide over 50 entrepreneurs consistent opportunities to sell their work, Skillshare, and build community, and serve over 2,500 patrons through the markets and over 50 neighbors through workshops. I want to thank you all for sharing this space and time with us today. It is an honor to be in community with all of you, and we look forward to working together to support the economic success and stability of our neighbors. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Allie. The first question is, and I trust me, I paraphrase a lot of these questions. So, it sounds like a lot of what you're doing is place-based economic development. How has your engagement been with the local chamber economic development organizations in the university?
Yes, we have been collaborating not as much with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, but more so with Southeast Community College, because that is where more of our neighbors go. And we have been collaborating with Brian Seck with the Chamber, who has since moved positions. And so we're rebuilding our relationships with EmployLink and the American Job Center, and are currently in collaboration with them to develop programming that is centered on the specific needs of our neighbors. So we're rooting ourselves and continually growing those relationships.
Right. The second question is, it looks like you work a lot with entrepreneurs. How deep is your engagement with banks to provide potential funding opportunities for those entrepreneurs?
There's a lot of potential that we would love to grow. Right now in our makers markets, we support those creative entrepreneurs by providing one-on-one mentorship. We do all of the promotion, we take care of the selling and the delivery. But what we would like to do more of is collaborate with local banks and funders to help cover those startup costs, so that makers who maybe have these creative, side gigs can turn those into full-time stable positions.
Gotcha. Great, thank you. And then the last question is just a clarification question. What is the Urban Lumber Project?
Yeah, the Urban Lumber Project is just a name for the project which we are collaborating with Lincoln Public Schools, Big Red Firewood and Sawmill. And that is wrapped into our SEED programming. It is just one program within that umbrella. And that is where we're hiring high school students to build items from repurposed ash lumber for our community. So little free libraries, benches for shared spaces. That's the Urban Lumber Project. It's just investing in the youth leadership to build those items for our neighbors.
Great. Thanks, Allie.
Thank you.
Remember to fill out your poll. It sounds like a broken record. The next up is Spark Capital, and we have Lee Alexander, who will be presenting on their program. Thank you. I will turn it over to you, Lee.
Very good. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Lee Alexander, and I work with Spark CDI. Spark CDI is a community development intermediary located in Omaha, Nebraska. Spark works with community to create and implement holistic community development programming. At Spark, our mission is simple but bold. It is to profoundly transform disinvested neighborhoods into prosperous and thriving communities. Essentially, what I'm talking about here is that our mission is to work in those communities, in those neighborhoods where it appears that developers, builders, as well as perhaps in some cases, city may have stopped spending monies to improve neighborhood, businesses, or shared spaces, as well as those communities that have been historically denied and deprived access to capital because of where they are located. Spark very much believes in the power of community. As a community development intermediary, Spark is all about convening, collaborating, and catalyzing. In other words, we engage first, we listen, and then we seek to understand what it is the community wants first, and then we act upon that. It is from this leaning forward and hearing the community that Spark Capital came to be. We were established specifically to provide disinvested communities of Omaha with flexible lending products and development services. The bottom line is that access to capital is the lifeblood of our economy and any healthy community. And access to capital is very much needed for any community in recovery from years of redlining and or neglect. Spark Capital is working to lead the transformation of these disinvested communities in South and North Omaha by providing capital so the community can reinvest or invest in itself. Now, essentially, as a CDI, Spark is looking to channel capital provided by banks, philanthropy, state agencies, individuals from outside the community into strategic projects to prime the pump. Now, what I mean by priming the pump is that we're not looking to do it all or finance it all because we can't. But we can make strategic and tactical investments that stabilize the community and stimulate and spark the market to attract additional outside investment needed for the recovery and future growth. Now, with that said, and now that you understand the need, allow me to say that I'm here today to seek your investment and partnership to help us grow the Spark Capital Loan Fund because there's much work to be done. Now, essentially, in terms of what we finance, I want to say we finance a lot of different things. We kind of want to hear, we want you to come in, we want to talk to you, we want to engage you, and we want to hear what your project is, and then we look to craft a solution. Now, most notably are housing. I mean, there's a significant need for housing within our community, particularly affordable housing. So some of the types of housing projects that we support is, for sale housing, rental housing, multifamily housing. We will do or support market rate housing if it serves a greater community development purpose. Right now, we're involved in a project to support middle income home buyers that want to live in North Omaha and South Omaha to return back to those neighborhoods. We also will provide financing for commercial and mixed use development located in Omaha, as well as healthcare and childcare and educational facility. One thing about the childcare facilities is that currently we're working with, or we've had conversations with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund, which was on the line earlier, about working together to help realize a child care facility that is very much needed in South Omaha. Now, in terms of how we finance this activity, essentially, we will provide pre-development financing for acquisition, construction, bridge loans. Typically, we're looking at anywhere from 6 months to 36 months. Currently, at the moment, we do not provide permanent financing, but as our loan fund grows and matures, we will look to provide permanent financing. Now, our loan fund is available for low and moderate income census tract properties located in Douglas and Sarpy counties. However, we are highly focused on North and South Omaha. Now, this next slide illustrates that what we need to make this a reality. Next slide. Okay, I'm sorry. This slide, I'm sorry, I went too far. If you go back one, thank you. This next slide illustrates what we need to make this a reality. And we simply need your investment and your partnership. As I shared, our goal is to grow the loan fund. We're seeking your support in the form of an investment, a loan, if you will. Please consider participating in our loan fund with either a grant of an amount from $25,000 to $250,000 or a loan ranging anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000 with, if I can suggest the following terms, maybe a 5 to 10 year term with a fixed interest rate of anywhere from 1 to 2% or 2.5%. Annual interest only payments with principal due upon maturity with a revolving renewal option. And the one thing about investing in this loan fund, will be petitioning the Treasury Department to be certified as a CDFI next year. So an investment into this loan fund will likely qualify your investment for CRA credit. Secondly, in terms of partnering with you, if you have any projects or activities located in North Omaha or South Omaha, consider Spark as a partner, a financing partner. We can participate with you. Our monies play very well with other lenders, with other funding sources, particularly federal sources. And what else is there? Oh, and then also in terms of lien position, I mean, we are willing to take a second lien position in order to make the deal happen. So with that said, I want to thank you for your time and your consideration. My contact information, I believe, is listed in the handout. We would love the opportunity to meet and talk with you and discuss how your investment can make a difference in North and South Omaha. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. One question that we had is the current size of your loan fund and kind of what do you want to grow it into?
Okay, currently our loan fund is around $5 million. Now, and it is made up currently of local banking interests as well as support from philanthropy. Given the need, we are looking to grow it to $10 million over the next 2 years.
And then the last question is what kind of developers do you work with?
Well, right now, and I like that question because we do have a program where we bring in community members that are interested in developing. And we take them through a developer's curriculum. Essentially, we sort of teach them how to be developers. And so we're looking to support them. We have had 2 graduating classes, and we have about 5 folks from that academy that is embarking upon development now. But outside of that, or those academy graduates, any developer that is interested in developing property in North Omaha, South Omaha, we're receptive to. Ideally they would be located in a low income, in a qualified census tract or a low to moderate income census tract. But if the housing that they're looking to produce or the commercial activity that they're looking to start or support benefits low to moderate income folks, we are willing to support that and help them with that.
Great. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Remember to fill out your poll. Let's move to the next presentation, and it's Grow Nebraska Women's Business Center in a Snap and Boost with Candace Price, the Executive Director. Candace, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'm really excited to be here with you today to have an opportunity to introduce you to the Grow Nebraska Women's Business Center. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. As you see in the bottom corner, we are powered by the U.S. Small Business Administration. Women's business centers have been around for more than 30 years. And just this year, Omaha and Omaha metro area was granted with our very first one. My name is Candace Price, and I am the Executive Director. And I do want to share with you our vision just prior to getting started into our programming and what our ask is for today. So our vision with the Grow Nebraska Women's Business Center is to be the greatest champion of women entrepreneurs in the Midwest, changing the business landscape through training, advocacy, access to capital, and overall economic development of women-owned enterprises. So though we don't have a lot of time together today, I want to tell you about one of our newest initiatives that we have created. That's with myself and also BC Clark, who I know many of you are familiar with. This program actually has the potential for being earmarked as one of the best practices for the SBA's Office of Women Business Ownership, so that other WBCs across the country can implement this programming. So what we have is actually a two-part program, two-part initiative. The first part being the Woman-Owned Business Boost. And so Boost stands for Bringing Others on Board, Strengthening Traction. This is a 6-week program that would coincide with the other program, which is also 6 weeks. With this one, we're actually going to select 6 different women-owned businesses within the Omaha metro area. And so what that means is also any county that also touches Douglas County would be one that's open to the opportunity. And so our goal here is to have all of our members, our clients, and all of those that support our organization actually go and intentionally support this particular woman-owned business each week. So there will be a different one each week for 6 weeks. But along with this, we're going to be teaming up this business with a consultant. That way they're going to be able to work with them ongoing to help with their branding and their marketing and training. We don't want to just increase their numbers for 1 week. We want to be able to see this continue, and we want to meet them where they are so that they continue to have business come to them. As we all know, social media is a great way for getting the word out, getting any business's name out. And so we have a hashtag that we'll be using during this 6-week period, which is hashtag support women-led business. So that's what will be used throughout this campaign. Next slide, please. This is where I'll be spending most of my time with you today, is on this slide. So the second part of this initiative is the business planning in a snap. And so this will be the 6-week training program. It'll consist of 2 different cohorts of 20 women. So for a total of 40 women-owned businesses, approximately impacting 80 individuals or 80 jobs or employees that are with those. So the first set of 20 will consist of women who are currently working a full-time job while also trying to start, run, and grow a business on the side. The second set will consist of 20 women who are actually running and growing a business as their full-time job and their sole source of income. So if you've ever started a company or worked with small business owners, you know that those 2 different sets of groups can need 2 very different needs. So even though they're both growing business, when all your eggs are in one basket, and this is what you're doing full time, you may have some additional needs. And so we are separating those into 2 different cohorts. I'll go over with you what we're planning to do over those 6 weeks briefly. Week 1 will be business acumen. So we'll be helping them create or rewrite their vision, mission, and value statements, as well as their business plan. And we want to make sure their business structure is intact. Now, though some of these businesses may have been around for a few years, the reason this is important is because a lot of business owners forget that these documents are living and breathing documents. They should change with you, change with your need. Let's get them off the shelf, dust them off, make sure you're even still in line with what your goals were. And if they've changed, what's your new why? Let's take a look at that. Week 2 is going to be over contracting, consulting for your pricing and marketing tools and training, including social media. And so we're going to actually have the help of the Grow Nebraska Foundation for this and bringing in subject matter experts for this week of the cohort. Week 3 will be contracting a consultant for branding and narrowing down each business, their key clientele or their niche. Who is your, what we call your avatar? Who is your specific client? When you go and talk with a lot of business owners, they don't know exactly who they're looking to sell to, and it's hard to grow and scale when you don't know who you should be marketing to. Week 4 is what I think is the most vital and most important part. If you get this part wrong, it's tough to stay in business. This is your financials. This will include 2 days of QuickBooks training, subject matter such as knowing your days of cash on hand, and your other financials and numbers. We will be bringing in and partnering with other organizations, even one that was on this call today with you for this week. And so if you don't have your numbers in order, you can't go a whole lot farther from there if you don't know what your business is doing or what the outlook is. Week 5 will be forming your tribe. So your business foundation will be introducing everyone to the bail, their banker, accountant, insurance, and lawyer, and the importance of having each. And week 6 finally is their pitch week, where they will learn their 60-second elevator pitch, but also have an opportunity to practice their full-on business pitch to their cohort members, local investors, and bankers. Next slide, please. And finally, this is where you see the numbers for our ask, which is a total of $70,980. That goes towards our graduates. So in graduating this 6-week cohort program in a snap, you'll receive the $100 Office Depot gift card, a laptop to include QuickBooks software programming. That way you can continue where we've started, as well as a half price on your Grow Nebraska membership for your marketing. Each person will walk away with formalized data specific to their business, as well as 6-week course and handbook. I do want to thank you all for your time today, and I am open for any questions.
Thanks, Candace. The first question is the issue of capital access. Do you anticipate connecting them to bank and non-bank funders, or what is the level of bank engagement with your class?
We 100% do, and that's actually part of our ask as well. So it's not just for the funding, it's for the organization. So if you have individuals that specialize in this, especially from the banking side, we are looking for you to come out and be one of the team members and experts to present. We do need them set up so, as someone said earlier, to become bankable. That way they do have additional access to capital. And then starting out, we have the NEFs, that assist as well when they're not quite there.
And you kind of alluded to it early on, but can you talk a little bit about your partnership with other, or organizations such as the chambers, other people in the small business space in Omaha or in the state?
Definitely. So we are a part of the Chamber of Commerce. It was one of our first gives from our organization as well. We received funding from Legier Foundation early on when we first got started this year, and we were able to give that to a team working with the Chamber of Commerce that was looking to help bring diversity into the state and the workplace. And so we are a member of the Chamber. We're a member of NAM. We are becoming a member of the Midlands African Chamber as well as the Hispanic Chamber, but we do a lot of event sharing. We work with SCORE. We work with the Nebraska Business Development Corporation, and actually one of their folks, Ms. Boex, is on our advisory board as well.
And can you talk a little bit to the potential demographic group of the participants in your class?
Sure. And our office is actually located in North Omaha, 52nd and Ames on the campus of Omaha Home for Boys. That was intentional so that we are closer to the underserved for a better opportunity to simply access not just to capital, but to knowledge and the resources. And so we are looking to, of course, help assist anyone that's around, which is why I mentioned all of the counties that we touch, but definitely our focus is on the underserved.
Thanks, Candace. It sounds like an exciting program.
Thank you so much.
Remember to take a look at the poll and make your selection. Take a look at your poll and make your selection. And next up for us is Wayne Mortensen, CEO of NeighborWorks Lincoln, who will be talking about the Community Land Trust. Wayne, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Del. And thanks for everybody that's logged in today. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you directly. NeighborWorks Lincoln is a 35-year-old agency that works on affordable housing in Lincoln, Nebraska exclusively. We are the city's preeminent provider of for-sale affordable housing. One of Nebraska's only comprehensive development agencies as well. We do about 60 to 80 units a year, on our way to hopefully upwards of 200 units a year in the next several years as we try to scale our operations to meet the incredible needs presented to us by Lincoln. We educate 250 Lincoln residents from 200 different households every year to be ready to be homeowners and even to improve their credit ratings and their scores within their own households. That leads to a 0.6% default rate by our clients, which we're very proud of. Obviously, far below industry standards when it comes to mortgage lending. And finally, our third line of business is community building, which means that we're stabilizing and seeding the communities that we work in, socially, economically, and politically. We work primarily in extremely blighted, low to moderate income and qualifying census tracts, which all meet CRA requirements, and are happy to talk about those benefits as well. The Lincoln housing market has evolved to a point of exclusion and displacement. I think many of you calling in today understand that. We've been dealing with urban poverty that's been concentrated in the city to unprecedented levels, and the life expectancy varies for children born less than 5 miles apart in 2 separate neighborhoods, almost 20 years. And so those are the challenges that we face and the imperatives that we have to solve. Fortunately, city leadership has understood these dynamics and the perilous nature of our affordable housing crisis, and they have facilitated a comprehensive planning and visioning exercise called the City of Lincoln Affordable Housing Coordinated Action Plan that has given us the numbers and quantified the need of what we need to do as a community. Compounding that deficit, though, is that over the last 2 decades, the city has grown by over 25%, the fastest growing city in Nebraska and far outpacing the state as a whole. We know that by 2030, we will need an additional 17,000 housing units, almost 10,500 of which will need to be affordable for sale or rental product, including 5,500 of those that need to be for sale affordable homes offered for less than $250,000, which is quite a stretch now, with our median price being $225,000 in the city of Lincoln. We appreciate this opportunity with the Federal Reserve and with all of you to talk about an innovative solution that we think you can help us solve this problem and deflect the demand trajectory. Next slide, please. To meet this challenge as a community and as an organization, we are rethinking everything we do, including our own development model. This includes the construction of smaller, more affordable homes that have a shorter tenure in order to serve more families longitudinally. Essentially, we're going to make the starter home great again, if you want to use that parlance. We are also exploring strategies that better leverage our precious land resources with creative infill strategies and urban typologies that still respect their context, but also create additional opportunities for affordable housing in existing and mature neighborhoods. In order to pull all this off, we will need to tweak our incentive structures, our financial incentives, and pilot citywide tools in order to maintain and promulgate affordability across Lincoln. Next slide, please. That leads us to the Lincoln Community Land Trust, which will be a critical tool in this fight to not only preserve affordability, but deflect future demand in a sustainable way so that we can finally start solving these issues instead of just trying to play catch up. This is an innovative concept for Nebraska, but there are over 250 community land trusts in operation across the country. And so they have really taught us how to do this. And we just want to bring some of the best minds from around the country and help us do a very effective citywide land trust in Lincoln specifically. In a land trust model, for those that are a little unfamiliar, affordable homes are built with subsidy and offered to income-restricted homeowners. The innovation is that the homeowners own the home, but they are in a long-term lease agreement with the land, with the parcel, with the lot that the home sits on, which gives the community-directed and managed trust the control it needs to ensure that any future sales of those properties happens with similarly restricted buyers, income-restricted buyers. That means that instead of one home that we have to subsidize for one family, it allows us to leverage that initial investment for as many as 5 to 6 different families in that same affordable home, which we're really excited about. Land trust homeowners still benefit from property appreciation And 60% of them are able to leverage their equity, which is averaging about $14,000 over the course of their ownership after leaving their CLT unit and move into a market rate home that they buy themselves. So what we're seeking today is support to roll out this initiative citywide. We're looking for operating grants numbering $50,000 to legally incorporate the trust and sustainably staff the initiative until it can sustain itself, which we project to happen in year 4. We're looking for $100,000 in capital grants, which will help us build the acquisition corpus for the land we need in order to promulgate the model and to initially populate the property maintenance fund. And finally, we're even open to lines of credit in order to give us the working capital necessary to finance the deals and the redevelopments that take place on land trust land. Program or mission-related investments that can be partially forgiven would be especially helpful, but we would love to partner with anybody that wants to help us solve the systemic issue of housing affordability in Lincoln permanently. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. And you may have touched on this in part, but I'm going to ask it anyway. It says community land trust tends to be in high-cost areas. Has the land been donated? I guess if just off the top of my head to rephrase that question, you said you're looking for $100,000 to acquire the land. Is that the entire cost, or have you acquired other pieces of the land?
Yeah, that's just to start building our corpus and give us the headwinds we need to raise the philanthropic dollars that we'll eventually need. And the commenter is absolutely right. Land trusts work disproportionately well in the strength of the communities that they're in. So land trusts are most effective in stronger communities and stronger neighborhoods, and that's where we use the land trust to proactively procure affordable future opportunities through things like estate gifts, and reverse mortgages on vacant land, those kinds of tools that we can use to proactively go out and acquire the land we need to make sure that our neighborhoods are equitable and inclusive.
Great. And how is your current engagement with banks around this particular project in Lincoln?
It's been excellent. We've got existing lines of credit with both U.S. Bank and First National Bank, and they're really excited about continuing the work with us. They fund our other development work and are excited about our ability to do that work on land trust property so that it's more sustainable. And the Cooper Foundation has come to the table as an important partner in helping us do the due diligence work necessary to launch this the right way and with as much information as possible.
And then the last question is your partnership with other organizations. And specifically, it sounds like there's a lot of proposals in Lincoln that are centering on the same types of demographic groups. How has your partnership been with other organizations that are serving these families in other ways?
Yeah, no, we are the preeminent provider of for sale affordable housing for typically first-time homeowners. That's how our program differs, and we have a workforce housing model very similar to what Les mentioned earlier with the Spark model. We work with basically 60 to 150% of AMI in those communities around the city, and we partner thoroughly with neighborhood associations and groups like the South of Downtown to ensure that the work is coordinated and not redundant. But in terms of Lincoln developers, we are it from a not-for-profit perspective in terms of the creation of affordable housing.
Sure. Okay, great. Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks, guys.
And we are nearing the end of another great investment connection. Those are some phenomenal proposals, and I hope you found them as interesting and potentially impactful as I have. Just a few things before we let you go and reclaim some of your time today. First, make sure that you select your polls. You've had 8 wonderful presentations. If you want to connect with any of them, you can go back to the poll and make sure that you select that particular button. And it will be incumbent upon the presenters and their organizations to reach out to those that say they would like to connect. Also, don't forget your evaluation forms. Please fill those out. Those are, I cannot tell you how valuable those are in helping us define programs, strengthen programs, pivot programs. Like I said before, we've been doing this for a decade, and it always presents opportunities from your feedback to look at different ways we can take it, potentially improve it, scale it, or move it into different dimensions. So you would help us out a lot at the Fed. if you did that. And again, remember, I did send you both of those forms via email in PDF form. If you did not get that or you misplaced it, please feel free to email me. And then I would encourage you also that if you have other people within your network that you think some of these presentations would be a great fit for, even if it's not your organizations, your bank, or your foundation, to please make sure that you share that. We want to make sure that we're exposing the broad Nebraska marketplace of funders and supporters to some of the great programs that are going on. And if you are on the funding side and you've had great connections with some organizations in the past, please let us know. That's something that we share internally. We also share at other events to kind of showcase, what has been going on with Investment Connection. Again, this is 10 years, $60 million. I would like to see that number go up based upon what happens in Nebraska. And then the last thing that I would encourage you to do is continue to look for programs and opportunities to participate with the Federal Reserve Bank. One of the things that I didn't discuss is our particular division for the Federal Reserve, which is the Community Development Department. We have programs like this, which center on Ario Cisneros, who kind of heads this up in the community reinvestment side, along with the community reinvestment act work that you do. I handle small business and economic development for the region. We have a workforce development, community development focused advisor out of the Oklahoma City branch that handles it for the region. And our newest space is on digital inclusion and digital divide, where we work on issues of broadband, digital literacy, and things of that nature. So if you ever want to participate in any of those programs, please feel free to connect with me. We can get you on the mailing list. And Alex, if you want to go to the next slide. And then also, if you want to kind of take a look online at the kansascityfed.org/community, you can go to Investment Connection, or you can see all the other activities that our Community Development Department does. And so with that, I want to give you back some of your time, tell you how much I appreciate you. I've looked at the registration list. There's a lot of you that I know and recognize, and I know you're doing good work on both the philanthropic funding and also on the organization side. So together, I think we can continue to build Nebraska and make it one of the strongest economies for everybody in the nation. And with that, thank you for participating in Investment Connection Nebraska 2021. You all have a great day.